Welcome everyone to another edition of Play It Through, and on this edition it's Mega Man for DOS, brought to us by High Tech. In the late 80s, early 90s, Capcom decided to give the license of Mega Man over to High Tech to make some games for DOS. They were still published by Capcom, so it still has the Capcom logo on the front of the game. However, once you start the game up, you'll quickly realize this isn't your typical Mega Man game. High Tech ended up doing a horrible job porting over Mega Man, and instead of just copying the original Mega Man game, they instead made a brand new game all around. What you end up getting is a terrible game for DOS. You have to use an awkward control scheme, as well as there's no music to listen to in the game, which is one of the key features of all the other previous Mega Man titles. So here we go with Mega Man for DOS. Once you start up the game, you'll have a few choices to make, selecting what graphical capabilities you want, so we'll be using the graphics card of the VGA. You then can turn off animation, masking, sound, and be sure to turn off the joystick unless you do, of course, have a joystick plugged in. The controls for the game are, you have spacebar for fire, but then you have to use the jump button as J. As soon as you start off, you have an opening level where you'll have to run away from this robot. The thing about it is, if you end up destroying it, it just respawns immediately and you'll have to outrun it again. So I just find it easier to just take the few hits you'll get hit by and just keep running through it as quick as possible. If you do a nicely timed jump when it jumps, you will be able to avoid damage. However, once you get past them, you walk through a little shed into a door, and that'll open up, and now you're at the Robot Master selection screen. There's only 3 Robot Masters to choose from. We're going to start off with Dynaman. As you've already noticed in the game, there is no sound other than the sound effects themselves, so there's no music playing in the levels. In the first level, start off by jumping up on these crates, doing your best to avoid the bee enemies that end up dropping the boxes. Once those boxes hit the ground, they explode, causing a spread shot of 4 items to go. It can be really tough at times to actually dodge these, and it's hard enough just to hit the enemy as they take 2 direct hits to take out. Jump along the conveyor belts, being careful not to run into the spike wall on the right side here as you work your way down. When you jump over here, the machine will be dropping these garbage rocks. Just do your best to avoid them. They don't hurt you unless they fall directly on your head. Avoid them once again by jumping over this pit, and then you'll have some disappearing reappearing blocks. Thankfully, the pattern's very easy, but you're just getting used to the jumping in the game, and since that's very weird, it may take a try or two. Thankfully, it's not instant death if you fall in the lava below, but it can definitely hurt you. During this segment, try to do your best to avoid as much of the fireballs as possible, but I don't think it's really possible to dodge all of them, and you're going to take some damage. The second area of it, though, the thing above you will drop little fireballs every time it goes over your head. Thankfully, though, there's a big chunk of health on the left side once you reach the end. During the next hallway, just move in between the fireballs as they drip down. Don't attempt to do more than one of them at a time, or else you'll definitely end up getting hit. After you get past the dripping, you'll then be in another area with boxes and more of those bee enemies. It's the same thing as before. However, standing on top of some of the boxes, you may be able to do a short jump upwards and actually land some hits on these bugs. During this conveyor belt segment, just watch the background as there will be different things trying to come out and hurt you. Just wait for them to go down, and then once they're starting to retract, that's your opportunity to go by. The sound of all the machinery will get really annoying as you go up this ladder, as it seems to speed up for some reason. Right here is one of the most annoying parts of the entire game, and you have to have well over half health to get through it. These ant creatures move back and forth on the platform, and there's no way to dodge them. There's no way to actually hit them with any of your weaponry we have so far, because you'll have to get the Sonic Wave from Sonic Man in order to actually kill these bugs. Thankfully, there's a large thing of health before we enter the battle against Dynaman. Dynaman jumps along the screen, as well as once in a while he'll drop a bomb to the ground. When the bomb explodes, this can hurt you, as well as, of course, him jumping around. Thankfully, there is no flashing of the enemy, so you can just keep mashing the attack button over and over again to drain his health. Do your best to avoid him while he's bouncing around the room, going underneath of him when the time comes. Once you're able to drain all his health, though, you'll get his ability, and we go back to the Robot Master selection screen. Next up, we're going to Sonic Man, who's the water-themed robot master for the game. When you drop down here, watch out for the frog enemies, as well as the bats that'll just keep regenerating every time you take one out. Use your Mega Buster over and over to break down this wall, and when it breaks down, it ends up exploding, and that'll end up hurting you, so don't be right next to it when it does. You can also use Dynaman's move against it, but I end up finding that move so tricky to use, it's really not worth it. You end up throwing out a stick of dynamite, and then you'll have to press the fire button again in order to actually detonate it. But it's very glitchy, and sometimes you'll just end up going up into the ceiling itself when you try to blow up walls, so it can be sometimes hard to actually use. Be sure to grab the big chunk of health in the upper left corner, taking out the rat enemy before jumping to that platform. Run down the tube with all the frogs jumping back and forth, and then try to drop down here and watch out for all the missiles that are going to come at you from the right wall. Thankfully, you have some underwater physics here that help you jump very high, and you can use this to your advantage to get in between some of the missiles as they go by. There are also some of those rat robots on the top areas of the platforms, so be careful of them as well while making your way through. Finally, when you make it to the end here, you'll be able to go up the ladder and get past the segment. You'll end up probably taking a hit from the final set of missiles. When you get up this ladder, just go by very slowly because you'll have these fireball launchers as you go up. In the next segment, you'll have to watch out for a whole lot of bats that keep respawning, as well as electrical platforms on the bottom. This is a good opportunity to keep taking out the bats as they keep respawning, so that you can regain some of the health that you've previously lost in the level. I did end up losing a life during the segment, so instead of showing the same segment twice, I'll just go right back to here when I get back to the bat part. Thankfully though, when you ended up losing a life during this segment, you appear right before this area. Once you make it to the very top, watch out for the frog enemy jumping back and forth as you make your way at the top of the ladder. Destroy the next frog over to the right, and then make your way over. This fireball launcher is what I ended up getting hit by in the last area that ended up causing me to lose the life. Take out this rat enemy before jumping up to the platform above. There's another one on this platform, so just keep firing with your Mega Buster in order to try to take it out. Here is another decent area in order to regain some of your health, as you have this electrical eel enemy that keeps respawning. You'll also have to deal with some disappearing, reappearing blocks in order to get to the boss chamber in the upper right. The disappearing blocks during this segment are a little bit annoying. The third one ends up being right above your head, and if you don't time your jump correctly, you end up just bouncing your head off of it and falling down below. I always, no matter how many times I'm doing this segment, I always seem to mess it up and fall down in the water at least 3 or 4 times before I'm finally able to make it to the boss chamber. Sonic Man's weakness is Dynaman's move. However, like I said, it's a stick of dynamite you throw out, and you have to time the explosion correctly in order to actually do damage to him. So, I find it best, once again, just to use the Mega Buster. Sonic Man moves so slowly up and down the water while firing at his mines that you can drain a lot of his health really quickly and only take a few hits before you end up destroying him. Next up is the last robot master we have to deal with, and that is Voltman. The level starts off on some power lines along with these weird multicolored birds that you'll have to deal with as well. Every time you get hit though during this segment, you get knocked down to the wire below, so that's probably easily the most annoying part of this part. In this segment, watch out for the sparks falling from the top and take out the hornets as well. Thankfully, they move in a pretty easy circling pattern, so they're pretty easy to take out. The machinery, though, ends up slowing you down in the background, but it doesn't do any damage to you and doesn't really pull you. So just keep moving forward. I find doing lots of shots and little short jumps end up being able to make you go by a little bit quicker. Go down this ladder and watch out for the enemy above you that shoots this machine gun-like fire. Thankfully, stepping just a little bit to the right, you'll be able to avoid its hits. Watch out for the electricity as you're trying to make your way over these things so that you can get over to the left. Sometimes the timing of getting past the second amount of electricity can definitely be tricky. Once you get past the second one of these electrical converters, switch over to Sonic Man's move. To do so, you'll have to press escape, and then instead of being able to select it, you'll have to press S in order to switch to Sonic Man's move. Then use that to take out all the little spider enemies because you won't be able to hit them with your normal Mega Buster. Be sure to, of course, also grab the piece of health along the way. When you drop down here, switch back to your regular Mega Buster as you'll be able to hit the hornets, as well as since the spiders drop from a distance from the ceiling, you'll have the opportunity to hit them before they hit the ground. Here's the toughest part of the stage with more disappearing and reappearing blocks. Thankfully, the pattern here really is easy. You just have to wait for each one to appear before jumping to it. There is none of the ones that are going to appear above you or anything, so you don't have to worry about hitting your head or some weird timing. Use Sonic Man's move if you want to here in order to take out this electrical eel. But I find that he moves really fast through the water, so I end up always seemingly get hit by him, so it's probably best just to try to jump over him. In this segment, take out the frog, and then you can move along the top platforms and you'll be able to grab health along the way here. There are more of those bugs that fire out that machine gun-like fire, so be careful that they don't end up hitting you and knocking you off the platform. When you make it up here, just run past all the equipment and you'll make it to the ball store for Voltman. Voltman's weakness is Sonic Man's move, and you can do that to do a lot of damage to him. In order to fight Voltman, he gets a shield around him, and then he'll jump once and then break the shield, as well as fire a big laser at you. Jump over the laser and be careful not to get hit by the shield as it breaks apart. Without the shield, you'll finally be able to do some damage to him. However, after he does that for just a few seconds, he'll end up reforming the shield and he'll jump 3 times now before unleashing the shield on you. I find it easiest just to wait for that to break, jump over the attack, and then just mash the Sonic move and you'll take him out in only a couple of seconds. Once he's been destroyed, we get his move, as well as now we go on to Dr. Willie's stage, as they have unfortunately misspelled Dr. Wily by putting an E in it. In the first segment, watch out for the frogs, and then you'll actually be able to fight them a toll at the end of the area before you have to do a rematch against Sonic Man. This battle is the exact same as before, and I find just using the plasma cannon or the Mega Buster to drain his health quickly and get rid of him and then move on. Thankfully, after you get done fighting him, you'll climb up the ladder and be able to get a big thing of health as well as an item replenishment. In the next segment, you'll have to deal with hornets as you make your way through this hallway. Try to blast them from a distance before getting up close to them, and gather some health and item replenishment if you need it along the way. Once again, you'll also have a tool to fight near the end of it. When you make it over to this segment, once again pull out Sonic Man's move in order to take out the spiders. Once you get past the spiders, just leave Sonic Man's move equipped, and then fight Voltman again. Just wait for him to get rid of his shield and then get up close and just mash that attack button to drain his health fast. Grab yourself another item replenishment as well as a big piece of health before dropping down here. Now you'll be on the conveyor belt dealing with those bee enemies that end up dropping those boxes that explode. Thankfully, you don't have to deal with too many of them before you end up making it past the conveyor belt, but they're just as annoying here. Take out the Matul once it finally gets up to actually attack you before you get to an area with a bunch of lava again. Jump quickly to the platforms, and this time there's enough room on the platform to get in between the lava shots. When you make it to the end, it's a rematch against Dynaman, and once again he's just as easy as before, and using the Mega Buster as your best friend. You can use Voltman's move if you want to. With the 3 Robot Masters once again defeated, we now have one last hallway before we get to Dr. Willy. Here we actually get to fight a Sniper Joe, another normal enemy from most of the Mega Man titles. Take him out as well as a Matul before fighting another Sniper Joe. Once you defeat the second one though, you'll now be in an area with tons of health as well as item replenishment. Equip the items that you have used and replenish them as well as grab enough health that you need. However, if you end up not picking all of it up, that will still be there in case you do lose a life against the final boss. Go into the final boss with Sonic Man's move equipped. Just keep firing it over and over again to drain the mech's health before it's able to even walk over to you. All it does is fire a 3-shot spread shot and it's very easy to dodge. Then just destroy him and eventually he'll regain all his health, but now you actually can see Dr. Willy. And for this part, he'll do the same attacks, just use Voltman's move in order to drain his health really quick and defeat him and get the greatest ending in Mega Man history. Dr. Willy has surrendered, Mega Man has saved the planet from destruction, but will it last? We then get the credits. Thankfully they do credit Capcom here, but I doubt Capcom would really even want their name anywhere on this. You then get to see who made the game. And it looks like 3 people made the entire game. Once you press the fire button, you go right back to DOS, and if you want to, you could go back into the game and play it all over again. And with that, that's going to wrap up this edition of Play It Through. I'd like to thank you for watching the worst Mega Man game ever created, and I hope you enjoyed.